Welcome to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. It is Monday, July 21st. I'm Collin Whitchurch. I'm joined by Action Network MLB betting guru Sean Zerillo to break down the action and give out our favorite bets from today's MLB slate. It's a busy Monday, strangely busy here. First Monday out of the All-Star break, all 30 teams in action, 15 games, no days off. We will have Grant Neiffer of Scores and Odds a bit later to talk dingers. But let's not delay it any further and jump right into our best bets. Sean, take it away.
Yeah, I swapped in a different bet here based upon overnight price movement, but this was the one total that I entered in the action app last night. That's the Mets and Angels under 8.5. I make this about 7.6, so I like the under down to 8 at minus 105. So still enough room out there in the betting market. Like this for a number of reasons. Number one, aside from my projection, this game did trigger a trio of Action Lab systems. One, wind blowing in, that's an Action Pro system. Second half unders, wind in, second half of the MLB season, wind blowing in. There is a all-time correlation there that I have a system set for, and then under streak when one of the two teams, I believe, has gone under in multiple consecutive games. But looking at the wind systems and City Field, specifically that wind blowing in pro system all-time at City Field, 53, 39, and 6, about a 16% ROI to the under, and that second half under win system, about a 57% win rate and a 7% ROI at City Field specifically. Kodai Senga has been great this year when he has pitched, had some injury issues he's dealt with. There has been a dip in the underlying indicators, the stuff plus profile, location plus, the velocity is down a tick compared to last year, but he's actually modified his arsenal a little bit. He's throwing more sinkers, more cutters, trying to induce a little bit more weak contact. So even though the stuff profile, the overall pitching plus, velocity down just a little bit compared to last year, I do think he's intentionally inducing more weak contact, and you see a decline in the hard hit rate down significantly compared to his first couple of years in the big league. So Senga doing some things differently this year that I think are positive adjustments moving forward. The Mets offense is in a humongous slump. We'll see if they go out and add bats at the deadline. But over the past week, Mets are 21st in WRC plus. Last 14 days, they're 26th and they're below average over the last 30 days as well. But past couple weeks, Mets offense has really been struggling to put the hits together. And additionally, this team is just underrated defensively. You know, looking at prior seasons, looking at the adjustments since David Stearns made when he came to Citi Field, the Mets just a average defensive team now, and that doesn't sound like anything spectacular. 2 years ago, they were 25th in baseball. Generally speaking, during the prior era, the prior Brody Van Wagenen era, but even before and after that, the Mets have always basically fielded a below average defensive club. Now they're playing up to an average team, league average defense. I project them as the 13th best defensive team on today's slate. So right around league average, slightly above league average. They're 12th in defensive runs saved on this season. So, just in general, I think the Mets have been better at run prevention last year. This year, the bullpen is struggling a little bit of late, but the offense is also not scoring right now. So 7.6 runs is where I projected this game, like the under 8 down to minus 105. And not necessarily my favorite total for today, but was my favorite total as of last night, and definitely one of the ones that was an easy click for me based upon the wind and weather. There's some other ones that popped up this morning that I think are particularly intriguing, which we'll get to later. But yeah, the board for totals for me last night was just all yellow. Everything was highlighted. Everything seemed like a potential play, and we had to narrow it down a little bit. But yeah, Mets and Angels under, definitely one of my more favorite plays today.
Looking forward to seeing all of the totals you're going to give us out at the end of the show to go along with Mets Angels. My best bet here, I am going with a prop. It is Shohei Otani over 3.5 strikeouts against the Twins tonight in Los Angeles. It is Otani's sixth start of the season, his sixth rehab start as the Dodgers work him back up to full power while keeping his bat in the lineup. His last time out, he once again progressed in terms of both innings and pitch count. He threw 36 pitches in 3 shutout innings against the Giants, striking out 4. He threw 25 of his 36 pitches for strikes, got 5 swinging strikes. Dave Roberts said Otani's likely to go 3 innings again today and then progress to the 4-inning mark for a few starts before fully working his way up to a starter's workload. Betting Otani props has been tricky and risky since he got back on the mound in these abbreviated outings. There's always the risk that he runs into trouble early, has a long inning. It doesn't even necessarily have to get bombed, but just have a 20 plus pitch inning. Gets pulled early just because of the pitch count before reaching those 3 innings. But this prop stood out to me. Um, just being a tick too low, given how we've seen Otani progress as well as the quality of his opponent. Minnesota's season-long whiff rates, they're not really through the roof, but the team in its current form is much more strikeout happy. They're seventh highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching over the last month. As I mentioned, Otani struck out 4 in his 3 innings of work last time out against the Giants team. That's not nearly as strikeout prone as these Twins, so I see no reason why he can't get to 4 again today. Over 3.5 strikeouts, right around the -115 range. I like that as my best bet today.
Should mention Dustin May is expected to relieve Otani
Yes.
tonight. It's not going to be their standard, like, Ben Kasparius and Jack Dreyer and all those other guys behind Otani. It's supposed to be Otani into Dustin May tonight. I actually bet the Twins at plus 185. I like them down at plus 170. The market has kind of moved to that point or lower as of now. But yeah, I think maybe once Otani comes out, live betting against May potentially in his first start off the IL could be a way to go. But I did show value on the Twins last night, fired at it, but just thought it was interesting. It's a bit of a different pitching plan behind Otani today.
Yeah, and both of us, I know we've talked on previous episodes, we're pretty high on David Festa. Dodgers offense struggling a
Mhm.
little bit. Should be an interesting matchup there in LA tonight. Let's move on to the underdog section. It's a bit of a surprising underdog here, if we're being honest, or at least for me, maybe it's just the books overreacting to the name value of one side of the matchup. We've got the Astros. They've been scuffling a bit. Sean, you even logged a couple of midseason future bets on the Mariners in the Action
Mhm.
Network app over the All-Star break, I noticed. They lost Isaac Paredes over the weekend to a hamstring strain, adding to their litany of woes on the injury front. They're supposedly getting Jeremy Pena back pretty soon, but their best hitters are all on the shelf right now. Paredes was basically the last guy they could afford to lose offensively, and now he's out. Jordan Alvarez obviously been out for much of the season, and now Paredes down with Pena until Pena comes back. Uh, they're facing the Diamondbacks tonight. The Diamondbacks are hanging on the fringes of the wild card race right now. Everyone waits and wonders if they're going to sell at the trade deadline. One of the reasons for their struggles, the reason they're kind of hanging around there instead of being a solid playoff team, is the mediocrity of Zack Gallen, who takes the mound tonight against Houston youngster Colton Gordon. Sean, how are you attacking this one?
Yeah, the Diamondbacks have to sell because even if somehow make a miracle second half run, are you really going to slug your way to the World Series again with
Yeah,
you have a good offense with Cattell and, Naylor and Corbin Carroll and all the guys
Perdomo
in there, but
breakout.
yeah, the pitching staff just completely fell apart. Like, who's going to throw innings for you in October, even if you
Yeah,
do happen to get there? Even when they made the World Series a couple of years ago, they just kept using the same three bullpen arms over
yeah,
and over and over again, right? It was Paul Sewald, Martinez, and Thompson, just like again and again and again, and they just kept getting shut down innings. This year, the Diamondbacks have Burns and all their other starting pitchers on the IL, but their bullpen got absolutely shredded. Justin Martinez, Shelby Miller, AJ Puck, Ryan Thompson, all on the injured list. I believe Graveman is back, but he was on there for
Beeks.
a substantial portion of the season. So I just see an enormous pitching edge for the Diamondback or for the Astros in this game. I do project Colton Gordon as a better pitcher than Zach Gallen. Maybe that's a little bit of a hot take. He has the better, way better underlying indicators. Gallen's numbers are basically all in career worst territory. 4.9 expected ERA, 4.12 expected FIP, 13% strikeout minus walk, 98 pitching plus, 4.23 body ERA. Gordon pitching plus 5 points better, 103 versus 98. Bot ERA, a full run better, 323 versus 423. Strikeout minus walk, a couple points better. Expected ERA of 4, as I said, Gallen pushing closer to 5. So the Astros brought up these two lefties this year, Gordon, Walker, Brandon Walter. They've both thrown very solid, effective major league innings, both left-handed starters, and I think the Diamondbacks being forced into their lesser split here does take me to Houston a little bit more. Houston also in their lesser split, but Astros 10th against lefties, second versus right-handed pitching, one of the best offenses against righties this season. Astros number one against lefties. They do fall to 19th versus righties, but I think their offensive quality overall is diminished right now. As you said, Isaac Paredes going down with the hamstring injury over the weekend. Seems like he's going to be out for a decent amount of time too. But the bullpen differential, as I said, all of those arms missing from the Diamondbacks bullpen. The Astros second in expected FIP, first in strikeout minus walk on the season. The D-backs are 15th and 16th respectively. So a league average bullpen, and I think closer to a bottom 10 bullpen with all those injuries. Going against one of the top bullpens of baseball, I make Houston about plus 112 in this matchup. I like them down at plus 120 or better. And irrespective of my Astros bet today, if you want to wait a day, because I do like the Astros to win today, over the All-Star break, I did run the math for all 30 teams, looked at created a composite projection based on, all the projections out there, Pacoda, Fangraphs, ATC, Oopsie, etc. The Mariners were the one team that showed futures value across the board, uh, divisionally make the playoffs, World Series. Their average World Series odds were about plus 1,800. When I bet it, I got plus 3,000. Their most optimistic projection was closer to plus 1,500. Their least optimistic projection was still about 19 to 1. And then even divisionally, when I bet it, I bet 4 to 1. Their most optimistic projection was closer to plus 250. Their least optimistic projection was still closer to plus 350. So I do think Seattle is the one team from a futures perspective to keep a very close eye on. They do, in my opinion, have the best starting staff in the American League. You kind of want a superlative unit once you get to the playoffs for a team that you're going to bet on, but also the Mariners are going to go out and trade for somebody. They've been very clear. Do not get attached to our prospects over the next couple weeks. Seems like Harry Ford is being aggressively shopped. Lazaro Montez potentially on the block, one of the best power hitting prospects in the minor leagues. I would expect the Mariners, like they did with Randy Arozarena, to go out and add another bat this year. I'm really hoping it's Josh Naylor because I think he's a perfect fit for them. But Seattle, betting into them right now, I think you're getting more value than you will even in 10 days because I do think on paper they will be a better team in 10 days after the trade deadline. So yeah, I really like Seattle from a futures perspective. Don't necessarily have to bet it today, but keep a very close eye on it and bet it at some point before the trade deadline because I'm expecting them to add a significant piece.
It's hard to imagine a world where the Mariners are World Series champions. I think that's the case for most baseball fans. I'll throw out another name that I want to see in Seattle if they make a move. And I don't even know if this guy's going to move, but O'Neill Cruz. Get him out of Pittsburgh, please. For the love of God, I want to see.
Bring back Eugenio Suarez. Like there's
Yep.
there's a bunch of things they could do that would be fun. But yeah, just add a little bit of power to that lineup. You have Julio's hitting a lot better.
Yeah.
Crawford's on base constantly. But then once you get through Raleigh and a Rosarina, like there is a drop off in offensive quality. In the
Oh
back
yeah.
half of that lineup, just could use one more bat to lengthen it. Even I'd rather even get two average bats as opposed to like one really good bat. Just lengthen that lineup. You have a great pitching staff. Keep the line moving and let the top of the order drive in runs. But yeah, too often I'm watching that Mariners team like get Raleigh and Rosarena on, and then you get to the 7, 8, 9 hitters and they can't produce a run. So just get one more bat, lengthen that lineup a little bit, and I think you should take this team seriously. The Tigers starting off the second half a little bit, in a lull. The Yankees certainly do not look as good as they looked earlier in the season. The Jays, I think, are a better regular season team than they are a playoff team. Like, there's a path for the Mariners. There's 100% a path there come playoff time. And given the pitching, I would expect them to be favored in a lot of games.
Speaking of that AL playoff race and the Toronto Blue Jays, that's where I'm going with my favorite underdog
Love
play.
it.
It's a very slight underdog here. Blue Jays on the money line. Start of a huge series against the Yankees tonight in Toronto. Blue Jays are currently 3 games up on the Yankees, 5 up on the Red Hot Red Sox in the AL East. All three teams at the top of this AL East race are actually on a bit of a heater right now. We'll see which one cools down first. Tampa's is kind of the odd team out at the moment, although they've got 3 games against my White Sox starting tonight, so maybe that gets them right back in the race. But we've got a good pitching matchup on paper here tonight. It's Kevin Gausman against Carlos Rodon. I tried to fade Rodon in his last start before the All-Star break against the Cubs. He responded by throwing his best start in months, probably, arguably his best start of the season. He went 8 shutout, gave up 4 hits, walked just 1, and struck out 8. Um, just a couple starts ago, he faced these very same Blue Jays in Toronto. Is less than a month ago, and he put up a pretty pedestrian line in that one. 5 innings, 2 runs, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. On the season, the Blue Jays are kind of split neutral from the perspective of WRC plus, at least. Since they got hot, since they really turned on the Jets as a contender near the start of June, they've been hitting far better actually against right-handed pitching than lefties like Rodon. But I still just don't fully trust that Rodon's bounce back against Toronto is legit. And this is a Toronto team that has won 10 straight at home. Maybe that's noise. We can talk a lot about whether home field advantage is as much of a thing in baseball. The Rogers Center is certainly a unique environment. Toronto's really enjoying playing there right now, so I like them, and I want to see more of what Rodon did against the Cubs 10 days ago before I fully start believing in him and buying him. I also think the Blue Jays have a bullpen edge here. None of their high leverage relievers saw significant work during their 3-game sweep of the Giants. The Yankees presumably have Devin Williams unavailable. He threw back-to-back days. Insert all your Devin Williams jokes that you want. He's actually been pretty good since his really, really bad start to the season. Tim Hill has also thrown 2 days in a row, and Luke Weaver threw 30 pitches just 2 days ago. So I think Blue Jays will have some of their high leverage relievers ready to go behind Gaussman. The Yankees will have to mix and match more. Makes me a lot more nervous if this game is close late. So I like Toronto as short underdogs here, right around the plus 100 range. Sean, you listed Toronto as one of your final bets as well, so I'll let you chime in here now. You're on the Blue Jays as well tonight, is that right?
Yeah, I make them about minus 115. I would bet them down to minus 105. Happy to get plus money. If you want to bet Toronto to win the American League East, I think there's value on that as well. The average projection I took last night across the projection market has them at about plus 125. You can get plus 145 this morning before this series. I also think they are a bad matchup for Rodon. You see the walks in that last start. They spit at a lot of pitches. This is a very good process-oriented offense who is going to wait Rodon out, make him throw a lot of pitches, and then that Yankees bullpen is going to come out. They're going to make them throw a lot of pitches too. I think you saw it last time the Yankees went up there for a 4-game series. The Jays just kind of cumulatively ground that team and that bullpen down over the course of that series in that 4-game sweep. I believe I bet on them in 3 of the games of that series, and I also bet the over. I think in 3 of the 4 games of that series as well. And that was that run of Yankees overs where they hit like 15 straight overs before they ended up hitting like 16 straight unders or whatever it was. So, yeah, the Yankees bullpen was a mess in terms of like exhaustion in that series. And I think the Jays' patience had a big part in that. So, not only today do I like the Jays, but keep an eye on the Yankees bullpen usage tonight and then the potential cumulative effect that could have both on the Jays money line tomorrow, the over tomorrow, and then the same thing for Wednesday as well. So yeah, Jays to minus 105 today. Jays to AL East, good to about plus 135 right now. And then just keep an eye on those Jays money lines and the overs based upon the Yankees bullpen usage and how deep Rodon goes into the start tonight.
As I mentioned, Sean has a bunch of other bets we're going to give out here before this show wraps up. We also have Grant standing by with some dinger bets, but I did want to briefly mention a game, not on our rundown, but Sean, that you logged in the Action Network app this morning. It's a game that I'm sure if baseball fans are waking up, looking at the schedule, saying, what do I want to watch? What do I want to bet on tonight? It's Paul Skeens Day. He and the Pirates are hosting the Detroit Tigers and Jack Flaherty. If you watch or listen to this show regularly, you know we have regularly faded the Tigers in Jack Flaherty starts this year. Now tonight he's going against a really bad Pirates team, but one of the best pitchers in baseball in Skeens. I have a fun fact here, dug up by Action Network Director of Research Evan Abrams. So the Pirates are on 39 wins right now. They're facing the Tigers, who got their 60th win of the season last night. The Pirates are favored to win tonight behind Skeens. Uh, Last 20 years, teams with fewer than 40 wins against teams with 60 or more wins, where the bad team is favored. This is just the 6th time that's happened in the last 20 years. It's the first time it's happened in 8 years. The last time this happened was all the way back in 2017. A very young Aaron Nola and a very bad Phillies team against the Washington Nationals. The Phillies were favored in that game behind Nola. In the previous 5 matchups, we've seen the good team that is underdog prevail 3-2 over the bad favorite. So that's what we've got here tonight. Again, the 39-win Pirates favored over the 60-win Tigers and Paul Skeens against Jack Flaherty. The Pirates, I watched way more Pirates this weekend than I normally do. They played against my White Sox. They got swept by the historically bad Chicago White Sox. That's how bad this Pirates team is. Now they've got one of the best pitchers in baseball on the mound again against the Tigers. Sean, you logged a bet in the Action Network app on this game. It's not on our rundown because I'm assuming it moved past your price point. But I want to give you an opportunity to talk through this game, maybe give out what that price point is in case people are wanting to bet this game. And a really unique and interesting matchup tonight.
Yeah, I think I make this game about minus 137. I put minus 125 as the target in the app. I think you could take it up to minus 127. I think I saw minus 125 still out there currently, but it wasn't widely available. So I kind of took this off the rundown, but I'm glad you brought this game up. Very unique circumstance, really cool stat. 6 games, 5 games in the past 20 years, he said. Just like astounding that this is that rare of a situation. Now, if you guys have followed me throughout the year, I largely bet against both of these pitchers, both Skeens and Flaherty. My concern about Flaherty tonight, or my concern about betting against Flaherty tonight, is just the added rest, because Flaherty has been a little bit better the past couple of years when he's had more time to rest between starts and let his shoulder heal up a little bit, and then he comes out throwing a little bit harder. So I am a little bit worried that this is not as bad of a Jack Flaherty as we've gotten to bet against for most of the season, just with the added rest. When he's pitched on 6 days rest as opposed to 5 days rest the past couple of years, he's been a little bit better. And you can see in the game logs, Detroit has made it very intentional to try to give him extra rest when they can, throwing a lot of bullpen games to try to just give him an extra day off. And they're trying, now that they have 60 wins, they seem like a very likely playoff team. Getting Jack Flaherty to October is more important than Jack Flaherty getting a win on July 21st. So that is my concern betting against the Tigers today, is just that Jack Flaherty might be a touch better than he has been throughout the season. But I have largely bet against Skeens throughout the year. I think the market has overvalued him for most of the year. The past couple of starts, I do think he's getting a little bit less respect than he got for most of the year. At least the Pirates bullpen, the Pirates offense getting less respect than Skeens did throughout the year. So yeah, I've been betting against Skeens a lot, betting plus money against Skeens a lot. Today I did show value on the Pirates. I'm not sure if that has more to do with Skeens or more to do with Flaherty or a combination of the two. But Pirates up to minus 125 would be a bet for me today. But I would not go aggressively at Flaherty props. I do show value on the over here. I'm not really interested in playing that just because I think Flaherty could be a little bit better today than he has been throughout the season. But I still think the Pirates are undervalued. Would take them up to minus 125. I'm curious to see where Skeens, continues to get lined in these starts, because I didn't think there was, I didn't think there was any value on him earlier in the year. I thought there was consistent underdog value against him. And now the past couple of starts have been finding value on him, both first 5 and full game. I didn't bet a first 5 last night. Maybe I should have considered that. But yeah, minus 125 is a fine bet for me today. Minus 127, I think, is a good cutoff price.
All right, final bets time. We go from one diminished former ace and Jack Flaherty to another in the desolate husk that is Walker Buehler taking the mound for the Red Sox tonight against Zack Wheeler and the Phillies. Sean, we don't see you lay juice like this very often, but you're on the Phillies tonight. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a humongous gap between the starting pitchers here. I do not often see a 3-run gap in underlying indicators, but Zack Wheeler, a 2.4 expected ERA, Walker Buehler, 5.3. So 2.9 runs, not quite 3, but as big of a gap as I can find between pitchers in terms of expected ERA. And Buehler was awful in June. He's arguably gotten worse as the season has gone on. 8.62 ERA in June, 5.8 expected FIP, 20 walks, 21 strikeouts in the month of June. So I think Walker Buehler is cooked. Zack Wheeler, every single indicator is career best. 2.4 expected ERA, 2.62 expected FIP, 27.4% strikeout minus walk. He was closer to 21% the past couple of years, 29% or 28.7% called strike plus whiff rate. Every single one of those indicators is a career best mark for Zack Wheeler. So we just talked about Skeens. Now we're talking about Wheeler. I think their odds in NL Cy Young are pretty much neck and neck. Wheeler might have a slight edge at this point. I think if Wheeler gets it, it's more of a lifetime achievement award than it is. I mean, I shouldn't even say that. Like, their numbers are super close right now. and Wheeler is pitching the best he ever has. I think Wheeler has the edge because it's more of a lifetime achievement award. I don't think he's going to get it because it is a lifetime achievement award. I think that gives him the edge over Skeens right now. It's just because he deserves one over many years of excellent work. But yeah, like Wheeler is as good as he's ever been. This is not even the same Zack Wheeler we've seen in recent seasons. Throughout the year, typically during the regular season, Wheeler is a little bit more sinker heavy. And then the playoffs come and he amps up the four seam usage and the strikeout minus walk rate skyrockets. He's just decided to be that guy for the entire year. He's cooking and he's decided to be postseason Zack Wheeler for the whole season and is throwing the four seamer a little bit heavier. So yeah, strikeouts are up, hard hits down. Like you couldn't ask for a better pitcher than Zack Wheeler right now. I make the first five line about minus 300. I make the full game line about minus 250. So minus 275 and minus 225 respectively, I think are solid bets. First five and full game. I only bet full game. Maybe I'll add some first five here against Buehler because the Red Sox bullpen is decent and the bullpens are much more comparable than the starting pitchers. But I don't expect the Red Sox to be throwing their best relievers because I expect them to be behind significantly after five innings.
Current NL Cy Young odds at DraftKings, Zack Wheeler and Paul Skeens are both minus 115. So it is about as much of a coin flip as it can be. Jim Turvey and I talked on the most recent futures episode of Payoff Pitch about this race and how it is. It's the Lifetime Achievement Award against the. Skeens is the narrative driven. Like he's arguably like close to the face of baseball right now. Like one of the most recognizable pitchers on the planet. Do people want to reward that or say, okay, well, Skeens has five or six more opportunities to win Cy Youngs. Let's give it to the guy who has had an amazing career and has somehow never won a Cy Young in Zack Wheeler. Very interested in how that plays out. We'll wrap things up with you with a couple of totals. We'll start first in Tampa. Rays, White Sox, wind blowing out at George Steinbrenner Field. You're on a total here.
Yeah, I'll just rip through these because I don't have a
Yeah,
ton of analysis on any of
go
these. I
for it.
added all four of these bets to the Action Network app this morning. Remember, I said I showed a lot of value on totals last night. I wanted some updated weather and to recheck these in the morning because I wasn't trying to fire 18 bets in the app overnight. We have 12 for today. I think that's a reasonable amount. I try to typically cut myself off, but I believe Grant will have some dinger bets from this game. Looking forward to seeing who he bet. But yes, it's very hot in Tampa today. Only 89 degrees at first pitch, but with the humidity, it's going to feel like 96 on the field. 6 to 8 mile an hour winds blowing out towards that short porch in right field. We have seen offense increase with the wind blowing out at Steinbrenner Field. The one worry for me is Shane Baz because Baz has thrown a quality start in 5 of his last 6 appearances. The White Sox hit lefties better than they hit righties. So I do worry a little bit that this is like a 7-0, 8-0, 6-2 Rays win. But I make this total about 9.5. So the over 9 at plus money, I like up to minus 110 here. The other over that I have left, the Reds and Nationals, I bet over 8.5 juiced at minus 120. I've been low on Brady Singer all season. Jake Irvin, I think, is a replacement level starting pitcher. I did bet the Nationals. I like the Nationals down to plus 115, but I probably prefer the over 8.5. I'm good with that. Up to 9 at about minus 110. I make this total about 9.5. Just do not like either bullpen. I think, you could even live over this here if there's not too much scoring against the starting pitchers, if Singer pitches well. The Nationals offense last 30 days has been a little bit better, about 10 spots better. It's partially why I like Washington, but these bullpens, Washington 29th in expected FIP last 30 days. They're basically 30th throughout the season. Reds closer to league average, but I do not think a particularly effective unit either. So yeah, I make this about 9.5 over 9 to minus 110. And then a couple unders before we get out of here. The Marlins and Padres under 8.5. I like down to 8 at minus 105. Yuri Perez in full breakout mode. 2.4 expected ERA. 2.9 expected FIP. 18% strikeout minus walk. 117 stuff plus from Yuri this season, which is absolutely electric. And the Padres offense the last 30 days, 19th in WRC plus. Do you think they continue to trend down? Not going to be sellers at the deadline because they are getting closer to the Dodgers, who are also struggling. But concerns about Randy Vasquez in this game. Anytime Randy Vasquez starts, I have concerns about him walking the bases full and then giving up one big hit. A 1% strikeout minus walk rate for Randy Vasquez this season. But the Padres bullpen is fully rested. They used 2 of their lesser relievers yesterday to finish up their game. So I do think a fully rested bullpen behind Vasquez tonight. Hopefully he keeps it close and they can deploy that early. My favorite of these totals, of the ones I added here, probably my favorite for today alongside the Mets. This was my easiest click alongside the Mets under the Cubs and Royals under 7.5. I make this total about 7.25. I bet under 7.5 at plus 105. Like it down to even money. Did miss the under 8 this morning. But this game, not only is the wind blowing in, adjusted my total down, 7 miles an hour from center field, wind blowing in. This game fits 3 different Action Lab systems for unders. 2 of them pertain to Wrigley specifically, but the Wrigley under system, which I have set up in Action Labs, lifetime 60.2% win rate, 16% ROI to the under across more than 400 games. The second half under win system, which I brought up earlier for the Mets game, at Wrigley Field specifically, 59% win rate, 13% ROI to the under, and then the win blowing in pro system, which I also mentioned for that Mets game, which is active, 59.2% win, 13.6% ROI, 141, 97, and 18 lifetime. So all of these systems hitting it close to a 60% clip, in addition to my projected total being closer to 7 than 7.5. So under 7.5 at plus money. I'd even consider minus 105 there. That's, like I said, my favorite under for the day alongside the Mets. And with the Astros money line, Phil's money line, I'd say those are probably my 4 pack of favorite bets. Phillies minus 200 to minus 220, Astros down to about plus 110, and then those unders between the Mets and the Cubs.
Going back to Padres Marlins, I can already feel myself placing a 2026 NL Cy Young bet on Yuri Perez. Absolutely electric
And then he
stuff.
gets hurt in spring training. Yep, looking
Exactly,
forward to that one.
exactly. Well, there you have it. That's 9 bets on our rare 15 game Monday slate, but we're still not done. We'll throw it over now to Grant Neiffer of Scores and Odds, who has everyone's favorite thing, dinger bets. Take it away, Grant.
All right, thanks guys. Got a two-legger over on DK today. If you want, I'll give you an option for a third leg, but I'm just sticking with 2 legs right now. Getting to the first one, Nicholas Kurtz plus 350. Gets a matchup versus Leiter, who has not been bad this season at allowing lefty power. 0.94 home runs per nine, but XFIP shows he's due for some negative regression there. Look at his career numbers, above average matchup for lefty power. We don't have a huge sample size, so we're going off of what we have, and everything kind of grades out as a plus matchup. You look at his K rate, fly ball rate, hard contact rate, all above average. So even though there's a ballpark downgrade here, it's still an above average spot for Kurtz here. Plus 350, too high of a line considering how good he's been. He's been one of the best hitters in the league over the last few months. Massive bat speed, plus 350, just too high of a line. And then another guy that is a little bit undervalued in this spot, Ronald Acuna, plus 350, gets a matchup versus Hayden Birdsong. Birdsong has not been very good in his career versus righties this season, not allowing a ton of home runs, 0.76, but due for some massive negative regression when it comes to home run to fly ball variance, sitting at a 3.7 FIP while at a 4.45 xFIP. He plays in one of the best ballparks in the league, not the best ballpark in the league for suppressing power, and he's still allowing a career 1.36 home runs per nine. Fly ball numbers are great, hard contact numbers are very good. So everything points towards this being a good matchup. And Acuna on the other side there, one of the best hitters in the league so far this season, absolutely hammering the ball. Weather over in Atlanta, great for hitting, 85 degrees during game time, wind blowing out at 10 miles per hour, decent humidity. Ball should be flying. So those are 2 guys I'm going with. If you want to, you can add a third leg. I don't mind Brandon Lau or Junior Caminero. Both of them in a great spot, as Sean said. Weather is great over there, and the matchup is absolutely beautiful going up against Burke, who has been hit hard by both sides of the plate. So you want to go with a lefty, you can go with Lau. You want to go with a righty, you can go with Caminero. Both are great options. But that's what I'm going with. 2 legs plus 1900. I'm out of here.
All right, thanks, Grant. A couple dinger bets. Before we get out of here, just to recap our bets for today, our best bets. I'm on Shohei Otani strikeouts over. Sean is on the Angels Mets under. Our underdogs, we got the Blue Jays and Astros. And then Sean is on the Phillies as huge favorites and 4 totals over in Reds Nationals and White Sox Rays. Under in Padres, Marlins, and Royals, Cubs. Grant, as you just heard, dinger picks on Nick Kurtz of the Athletics, Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Braves, and then maybe a couple of Rays bets on Brandon Lau and or Junior Caminero. That'll do it for today's episode of Payoff Pitch. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to tail some of the bets from today's episode, look for the quickslip link in the episode description. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app and leave us that 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to the podcast. Also, check out the Action Network Discord. There's a link in the episode description of this podcast. We will be back tomorrow with another episode of Payoff Pitch. For Sean Zerillo and Grant Neiffer, I'm Collin Whitchurch. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast, and good luck with your bets.